Are you the type of triathlete that eats a lot before you train? Do you prefer to work out in the early morning or the afternoon? You may be wondering why these questions are so important and why this video is titled something that is rather shocking. Well, most people know that your body needs fuel to function properly. If you don't give it the right kind of fuel at the right time, your body doesn't work its best. But what a lot of triathletes don't know is that there is a simple reason why training on an empty stomach can help you out on race day. And our nutrition guru, Dr. Harry, touched on this exact topic recently during the latest episode of our Get Fast podcast.
And I think in a sport like Ironman, the person with glycogen at the end of the race does very well relative to the one that runs out.
What the doctor is referring to here is the infamous triathlete term bonking. Bonking, or hitting the wall, is the term ultra-endurance athletes use when they get to the final stages of a race and their body just stops working. Dr. Harry also mentioned how vital it is to not run out of glycogen or carbohydrates in an Ironman. Why? Well, just like a car that's out of gas, if your body runs out of fuel in a triathlon, you simply won't be able to run. So how do we make sure this doesn't happen? One method is to follow a strict high carbohydrate eating plan before and during your race. You may have heard of carb loading, but this doesn't mean just go out and eat as much as possible. There are actually some science-based specific formulas that you can use to work out how much to eat and when to eat them in order to get the most out of your body on race day. The science is very clear. Triathletes should eat at least 10 grams of carbohydrates per kilogram of body weight 1 to 3 days before the race. The morning of the race, consume a single dose of 1 to 4 grams per kilogram in order to top off liver glycogen stores that would have been depleted whilst you slept. But this isn't the only way to ensure your body has enough fuel for an Ironman. Another option is to teach the body to preserve its fuel, and you can achieve this by doing some of your easy training sessions in a fasted state, i.e. working out early in the morning before you eat, training on an empty stomach. The theory is that by training on an empty stomach, you're teaching the body how to use fats as fuel. So on race day, your body starts off doing the same before switching to burning carbohydrates. Think of it like how a hybrid car can be designed to use electricity for fuel for the first 4 hours of a road trip, and then finish the last 4 hours on gas. Now, it's important to understand that the research evidence supporting fasted training for triathletes is still heavily debated, especially with regards to undeniably proving that you'll be faster from fasting. That being said, what is the point of this video? We're not here to say that fasting makes you faster. In fact, fasting isn't about improving you as an athlete. It's more about reducing risk. The point is that every Ironman triathlete out there wants to avoid the dreaded bonk. Bonking is definitely one of the worst things that can happen to you, especially after the time, money, and effort you've likely put into doing this event. So with that being said, there are multiple studies out there that indicate triathletes who add in a small amount of fasted training, i.e. training on an empty stomach, can help reduce the risk of you bonking. This was further backed up in a scientific review completed by well-known nutritional experts Louise Burke and John Hawley, who published that regular exercise in the fasted state might stimulate muscle glucose uptake for a given absolute exercise intensity when carbohydrates are taken, which in turn inhibits net glycogenolysis. Now that's a lot of fancy words, but it essentially summarizes what we just talked about. Combine this with the fact that overall, doing some easy training in a fasted state isn't that difficult for the average triathlete. All you have to do is wake up a bit earlier and not eat before you train. So considering how easy it is to implement, and that by doing this you may help avoid bonking, why wouldn't you give it a go? So, I hope you found this video helpful. To summarize, more carbs the better for triathletes. Try implementing at least one easy session per week in a fasted state. Make sure you're measuring your carbs pre-race to ensure you've got enough fuel on board. And finally, try to stick to 60 to 90 grams per hour during your actual race. If you'd like more information on this, listen to the Get Fast podcast on any podcast app, and you can hear Dr. Harry talk about this kind of thing in depth. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the video, and we'll see you next time.